Welcome back, Stats23 here, back again with some knife therapy, and today I have for you the Bestech Knives Supernova. This is model BT 2022, and I'm not sure of the price tag on this one because it's not yet available. Bestech was gracious enough to send this out to me to check out for a review. And what we have here is a very graceful, stylish gents carry EDC, in my opinion. Let's get some specs out of the way so you have an idea of the size of this knife. You have a total length of 7 inches, so it's in that medium to smaller range. You have a blade length of 3.07 inches, so it's right over that legal limit. So just depending on the cop, I guess, if you have 3 and under blade laws. You have a grip area from the back of the flipper tab to the back of the scales of 3.36 inches. You have a pretty average handle scale thickness at 0.51 inches thick. Closed width in the pocket from this big widest point from here to here of 1.07 inches and a blade stock thickness of 0.121 inches. Behind the edge thickness on this particular knife is around 18 thousandths at the thinnest portion. All right, let's take a closer look at the Supernova. You have this nice, attractive, elegant looking harpoonish, I guess right here, clip point blade with a very nice satin finish, very even, no splotchiness to it. You have a high flat grind, like I said, that comes down to a pretty decently thin edge for, not being a full flat. You have Bestech logo on this side and pretty much sterile on this side besides the little bitty blade steel, which is Bowler M390, which is a high edge holding stainless steel in that upper tier class of super steels, I guess you could say. You do have a decent tip right there. It's not too dainty. Should be able to do some, tip work if you needed to. Good for getting into some packaging or bags or whatever you want. But definitely nice there. You have a sharpening notch right here, or more so sharpening choil. Clears that plunge line. You also have just a very, very slight recurve right up in here. You can see that. Shouldn't be an issue with your fixed angled systems if you're sharpening it with that. I would think you'd better get that, being that it's not too wide and too deep. You do not have jimping up here, but you do have a flat spot and a good little scoop right there to lay the thumb, which is nice and comfortable. I was kind of worried, a lot of times with the clip point blades, when you're doing like cardboard cutting and stuff like that, you tend to slide out of the cut. But even though it's not usually that useful with this very non-committal recurve right there, I did notice that it was helping from the blade wanting to slide out when I was slicing into the cardboard. Did a great job on the cardboard. Moved on to all the other tests. It did fine on everything. The only thing that it struggled a little bit on was the sisal rope cutting. I had to put a good bit of pressure into it because the edge didn't have a whole lot of bite from factory. Now, this knife, I think, was a sample knife at SHOT Shows. So, many people handled it. It might have gotten banged up on something. Who knows? But I've always found, especially Bestech, because they do a great job on their heat treats. After your first sharpening, your performance just jumps exponentially. Definitely worth giving it a proper sharpening. Let's close it up. You have a very minimal flipper tab with some fine cut jimping on there that does a good job of catching the finger, and this little cutout right there, it's very well done. Easy to get my finger access in there. I'm not usually a fan of these minimal flipper tabs because they're usually hard to get your finger on and you're trying to fight that detent. But the detent's dialed in nicely. It's riding on cage ceramic bearings and a ceramic detent ball. So it comes out nice and snappy, no issues. It's very smooth. The retraction, just a couple of little shakes and it will go back to its home. And since that flipper tab is right above the pivot right there, you have more momentum whenever you're pulling it back Very nice. That's why you get even a better flip there, because whenever the flipper tab, the further it gets behind that pivot, the less momentum you have of that blade when you're pulling it back. Kind of like a pendulum, I guess you could say. Let's take a look at the hardware. It's all satin finished. You have a Torx T8 on the pivot, and you have a panhead flat Torx screw right here. It is a T6. Minimal hardware there. You have a first for Bestech. You can see you have a bolster, or I guess you could, an onlay, whatever you want to call that, of zirconium. And as hopefully it's coming out in the video, you have a nice orange peel texture on it. Gives you a little bit of traction. And I like how they didn't just go straight across. I think it's a classier look whenever you have, some sort of like a pattern there. You don't feel any of the transitions, or at least I don't on this one. Then your frame is made up of titanium that also has a light orange peel finish and has been anodized gold on this particular one. I think there's two different variations. I think you can get it in gray or gold. Flip it over. You have a milled zirconium pocket clip right there that has hidden hardware. That's another classy feature that kind of ties in with this overall aesthetic. You have a bead blasted gray titanium backspacer with a gear pattern here and here. It is a little bit raised here, but it's not sharp or anything. Then you have a huge lanyard oval right there in the back that's incorporated into that backspacer. The scales have been contoured for comfort, and I did notice that they were very comfortable in hand, especially for a smaller knife. Hammer grip was probably the most comfortable, but if I needed to control it a little bit better, put my thumb up here in the saber grip, and it was really nice. This reverse grip is okay, but the way the handle arcs like that, it kind of digs into my hand depending on where I'm at, and that flipper tab. So not something that's not usually the way I cut. So it doesn't really, pertain to me. This reverse grip is comfortable, but this is another useless grip for me. That might be your style, but it's not mine. It is comfortable though. Let's check the pocket. The pocket clip out in the pocket. It is a little difficult to get it over the pants just because zirconium doesn't have a lot of flex to it. And that was something I noticed here. That's how much you have sticking out of the pocket. You have a decent little bit. I wish it would have kind of brought it back some. But it definitely holds it in there. But like I said, there's not a lot of flex. It's not like titanium where it springs really easily. The orientation of the pocket clip is tip up, right hand carry only, unfortunately for lefties. All right, let's open it up and check out this lock. You have an inset stainless steel liner lock. I love whenever they do this because it allows you to have a nice clean aesthetic on the lock side, as matching the show side scale. Plus, another big benefit of it is whenever you go to flip it, you don't have to worry about your finger being on that lock bar and making it very difficult to flip the knife out. So very nicely done. Bestech did an excellent job with this one. They went with stainless steel. In my opinion, that's the smart way to go because you don't have to put, it's too small to put an insert in there. So you already have a stainless lock face. Your lockup is sitting at around 30%, and it is rock solid. No play in any direction. Whoop, no play in any direction whatsoever. Very, very solid. Let's check out the internals. You can see you have some pretty heavy skeletonization up top right there. And you don't have a liner on this one. You do have that stainless steel liner. I don't know if you can see in there on that show scale. That's inset. Comes to about right here. Being that you have the zirconium, which is usually a heavier material, it's kind of worried about the weight, but it's actually not bad. It's 94.4 grams. And 3.32 ounces, which, like I said, is really not bad. They did a good job of weight relieving where they could. All right, let's do a few quick size comparisons. You have the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Power 3. Power 3 is a lot closer in length. Next up, we have the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. Ontario Rat Model 2 is a great size comparison. About the same grip area, about the same length. Probably one of the better size comparisons that I have. You have the Concept, Revere. These two are about identical in overall length. The Supernova might be a hair longer, but you have about the same blade length, and you just have a little bit more grip area in the Revere. All right, on to the nitpicks and complaints. First up, I would have much rather not have recurve. I just prefer the non-recurves, but this one's not, you know, super deep or anything, so it's not that bad. It does help somewhat. Also, something I've noticed, the top of this swedge, let's see if I can show you this. It's got a hard 90-degree angle right there, and it's kind of sharp. Not something you'd probably touch, but it'd been nice to see a little chamfer right there on the top. Another thing I noticed is the lock bar access. Even though it's got a little chamfer right there, it's not the easiest to get my finger in there. And if you had fat sausage fingers, it'd probably be a lot harder. It's not, you know, terrible by any means, but it would have been nice, you know, if they would have either opened it up even more or raise this up just a hair. And the last two things I have are in the same area. For me, the backspacer looks out of place. It's not, you know, the high satin like your hardware or your blade. And I think it would have tied in a lot better, being that you have the gold scale right here, if you would have had a zirconium backspacer. Now, I know that would have increased the price, but just as far as aesthetics go, I think it would have looked a lot better. Or, you know, if you got to go with this, put that satin finish on there so it would at least tie it in with the blade and the hardware. That, I don't know, that's just my OCD that kind of bugs me. And being that this is such a classy looking knife, you know, nice gents carry that looks very expensive, I think they should have either did away with the lanyard hole, or, you know, had this go all the way down and put a lanyard post back there that's hidden. I think it just would have looked a lot classier. You know, with a nice knife like this, you're probably not going to be dangling no crazy lanyard off of, but you might. That might be your thing. That's no problem with that whatsoever, but it's just not my thing. So overall, I think the knife is very well made. It's a good slicer. It's comfortable. It's got a good action. It has nice high-end materials, good blade steel. You know, Bestech does a really good job on their premium knives. There's no doubt about that. So if you like the overall design and it's in your budget, I'd say go for it. If I find out the price before the video goes live, I will annotate it or try to edit it in here. But unfortunately, I don't know that. As well as I don't know if this is an in-house design for Bestech or this is a design collaboration. I'm not too sure, but that's another thing. If they get back in touch with me, because I did ask them, I will definitely put it up here, or if it's not up there, I'll try to put it into the description of the video. So let me know what y'all think about the Supernova, if you plan on picking one up. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute wonderful day. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.